It's math time with Heinz. It's math time with Heinz. Math time.
Hi everybody, welcome to lesson 8 here, where we're going to learn the last topic of this unit, which is solving linear systems. So this is going to start off familiar, and then we're going to kick it up to Algebra 2 level, and then just practice. These problems aren't hard, they just take some time and are pretty easy to make mistakes in, so we've got to make sure we're focused when we're solving these linear systems here. So in this opening exercise here, I want you to solve the following linear system using elimination. So back in 8th grade and in Algebra 1, we learned how to solve this linear system here. I have two equations with two variables. We learned how to solve this linear system with elimination. We're looking for where do these two lines intersect each other. Now, the whole idea of elimination is if I have, 10x in one equation, I want negative 10x in the other equation, so when I add them together, I end up with 0. That's the whole game plan here. So I look at this equation and realize I don't have opposites. So what we do is we rig the system so that we do actually have opposites in our equation. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is to multiply this bottom equation here by a factor of negative 2. So the top row is 3x plus 2y equals negative 9. And the bottom row there is negative 4x minus 2y equals positive 14. Make sure you're scaling each term up by that multiplier. So now that we've got this set up, we're going to add these two equations together. These terms make 0 here. Goodbye. Those make 0, and we're left with negative 1x equals positive 5. So that tells me x equals negative 5. But I haven't finished solving the system because I need x and y. So we take that value and plug it in. Doesn't matter which one you plug it into, I'm going to plug it into the bottom. 2x plus y equals negative 7. So negative 10 plus y equals negative 7, which leaves me with y equals 3. So these two lines intersect at the point 5, 3. That's what you learned in 8th grade and in Algebra 1. We're going to kick it up a notch in Algebra 2, where this whole process just kind of gets generalized to a little bit more complicated, yet the same kind of idea. So we're going to solve this system of equations. Notice in Algebra 2 land, we've got 3 equations and 3 variables. So you'll hear me refer to these systems as 3x3s, because there's 3 equations as well as 3 variables. All right, so whenever we see these systems of equations, the work for these can get messy. So I ask, and by ask I mean I'm telling you, that you have to follow this 5-step process with this structure here. So it seems silly, but draw in those lines just as I did there, because that gives us 5 different work areas. When we solve a 3x3 system, our first goal is get rid of one of the variables. 3 variables is too much to work with, so let's get rid of one of them. And quickly scanning this, I noticed my z's here. Those are easy to get rid of via elimination. So the first 2 steps is to get rid of one of the variables. So let's take these first 2 equations over here and add them together. 2x plus 2y plus z equals 15. As well as 6x minus 3y minus z equals 35. So using those 2 equations, I can add them together and eliminate my z's. So now I'm just left with an equation with 2 variables. 8x minus 2y equals 50. Be careful when you're adding. Watch out for your negatives and your positives. So that's step 1 over here. Step 2 is over here where we do the same thing. We still have to get rid of z. On the left-hand side, I got rid of z. I've got to pick 2 different equations and get rid of z again. So my best choice here is to use the top and bottom, because I have z and negative z again. So let's use the first and the third equation, the top and the bottom. So I'm going to rewrite them. And this allows me to eliminate z again. So now I add them together term by term. Those make 0. So I have negative 2x plus 5y equals 1. All right, we're done with the Algebra 2 for a minute, because what we just created is a 9th grade problem. I wanted a highlighter, come on, there we go, using this equation and this equation, we're going to come down to these two boxes here that I call 9th grade land, and I'm going to rewrite them. 8x minus 2y equals 50, as well as negative 2x plus 5y equals 1. So using these two equations now, let's forget that it's this crazy 3x3 system. Let's pretend we were in 9th grade. We were back in Mr. Holzapple's class or Ms. Dolan's class, and we're going to solve this equation here. We're going to use elimination. We have to rig the system so that I have opposites, so that my coefficients are opposites. I think the easiest way to do that is to multiply the bottom equation by a factor of 4. So I didn't touch the top equation. And the bottom equation is getting multiplied by 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. And now at this point, we add the equations together. That's not what eliminated. Those eliminated to 0. Those add to 0, and I'm left with 18y equals 54. And through division, I get y equals 3. So again, we're still in 9th grade land. The next column here, I'm going to take that y equals 3 and plug it in. 8x minus 2y equals 50. I have to finish solving the 9th grade problem. So 8x minus 6 equals 50. I'm going to add 6 to both sides and then divide by 8. Dividing by 8 gives me x equals 7. Now that we're done with 9th grade land, we zoom back out here and realize what the original problem was. I'm going to take my y and my x and plug them into one of the 3 original equations. It doesn't matter which one. Pick your favorite. Pick the simplest one. I'm going to go with the top one. 2x plus y plus z equals 15. 14 plus 3 plus z equals 15. Again, make sure your z's and 2's are different. My 2's are little loopies. My z's don't have a loop. So 17 plus z equals 15, which means z has to be negative 2. So that's my solution. I can leave that as it is, or instead of writing an ordered pair, I can write an ordered triple. So 7, 3, negative 2. And that is my solution. Okay, so these 3x3 systems follow these exact same steps every time. You look at the 3 equations, and you have to get rid of one of the variables. Twice. You have to pick 2 of them, get rid of one of the variables. Pick another 2, get rid of that exact same variable. You can't get rid of z and then over here decide to get rid of x. So if you pick one of the variables, you have to get rid of it again. Then you come down here to 9th grade land and solve that nice 9th grade system. And the last step is pretty easy. You just plug it back in. All right, so we're going to practice this a couple times, then I'll let you try some on your own. So let's solve this system of equations here. So I'm going to draw in my structure to keep me organized. There we go. So now I need to pick 2 equations and try to eliminate one of the variables. I can't deal with 3. I know how to deal with 2 of them. And this stood out at me right here. I have y and negative y. So those will quickly eliminate. So let's rewrite them. 4x plus y minus 3z is negative 6. And then I have 5x minus y minus 7z equals negative 19. So again, I didn't have to do anything here. These were already set up to be added together. 9x minus 10z equals negative 25. Again, be careful with your negatives. Use a calculator. And then I'm going to pick over here. I'm going to pick 2 equations again, but I have to get rid of y. I chose to get rid of y. I've got to get rid of y both times. So, well, this is a 4y. Could I make that a negative 4y? Well, we can if we multiply it by 4. I need to take that entire equation there and scale it up by a factor of 4. I need to scale this entire equation up here by a factor of 4. 20x minus 4y minus 28z equals negative 76. So those add to 0, and I'm left with 18x minus 26z equals, use a calculator, negative 38. I've only known that because I did it 3 times today. So that was step 1. That was the hard algebra 2 part. Picking your equations to eliminate the same variable twice. Because now we come down here to 9th grade land and copy those 2 equations that we have. But this time there's only 2 variables, and we learned how to work with these already. In theory, we learned how to work with them. And you know what that means. So who am I going to eliminate now? Well, 18 and 9, that's a no-brainer. I'm going to multiply that by negative 2. So I get negative 18x plus 20z equals positive 50. And then we didn't touch the bottom one. So now I've rigged the system so they add to 0, and I'm left with negative 6z equals 12. So z equals negative 2. I've got one of my 3 variables. I've got to just do plug in and plug in to get my answer. Remember, we're still in 9th grade land. Don't go back up to the original. Plug into one of our 9th grade equations with 2 variables. So 9x minus 10 times negative 2 equals negative 25. 9x plus 20 equals negative 25. Subtract 20 from both sides. And then divide by 9, and you get x equals negative 5. And again, these are so easy to make little mistakes in here, and it's late at night, so I hope I haven't made a mistake, but things are working out very nicely. So now our final step is to take both of those and plug them in. Plug them into our favorite one. They all look awful, so I'll pick the top one. Plus y minus 3z equals negative 6. Negative 20 plus y plus 6 equals negative 6. So I have negative 14 plus, combining like terms, negative 14 plus y equals negative 6. And finally, I add 14 and get y equals 8. So that's my final answer. Again, you can leave it like that, but if you write it as an ordered triple, it's got to go in order. X, comma, y, comma, z. And that's my ordered triple there. Okay? We'll do one more together, and then I'll let you guys practice. That's online, so that's not there. We're going to jump to number 1 on page 30. We're going to jump to number 1 here on page 30. So again, I'm going to set it up. Got my 5 steps here. So looking at this one, I've got to pick how can I eliminate one of these variables. I look for are any of them opposites or any of them the same column by column. So that doesn't look too bad. That looks awful. And I think I like z's. X is pretty reasonable to do, but I'm going to go with getting rid of z here because I have that negative. Okay, let's get rid of z. Let's do top and middle, but those don't make 0. I've got to multiply this by 4. So 8x plus 20y minus 4z equals, if only I knew what 4 times 35 was. Good thing I've got a calculator right here. That's dead. Great, I get to do some mental math and embarrass myself and make mistakes. That should be negative 140. And then I'm not touching that middle equation. X minus 3y plus 4z equals 31. So now those eliminate, and I'm left with 9x plus 17y equals negative 109. Okay, so now I have to eliminate another 2 variables. I have to eliminate that same variable again. I'm going to pick top and bottom and do a times 2 to the top there. So 4x plus 10y minus 2z equals negative 70. We didn't touch this one here. Can't touch this. And I get that. All right. Now I got to combine like terms and add them together. X 12y equals negative 93. All right. So we're done with the algebra 2, and I just simply rewrite those 2 equations and hope I can easily eliminate them. And I hope that I could easily eliminate something here. Well, the way that we're going to do that is we're going to have to multiply the bottom by negative 9. I have a positive 9, I'll multiply the bottom by negative 9. So I'm going to rewrite the top. I didn't touch the top. On the bottom here, I'm going to opposite 12 times 9, but it's negative. And then 93 times 9. This is awful. Positive 837. And this is where you just cross your fingers and hope for the best. 17 minus 108. I get negative 91y equals, here we go, 837 plus negative 109 divided by 91. Oh, I didn't go wrong. That's why you don't use an iPhone calculator, folks. 728 divided by 91 is 8, but it should be negative. So y equals negative 8. That's embarrassing. All right, so y equals negative 8. I can't type the right numbers in my calculator. I'm going to plug that in here. So x plus 12y equals negative 93. X plus 12 times 8 is negative 96. Equals negative 93. So then I add 96 to both sides and get x equals 3. And then finally we take both of those values and go back to the original. We take both of those and go back up here and use the top one. 2x plus 5y minus z equals negative 35. 6 minus 40 minus z equals negative 35. Negative 34 minus z equals negative 35. Some of you already know what it is, but I'm just going through the steps here, and I get z equals 1. So my solutions are 3, negative 8, and 1. That's the ordered triple. So that's where I'm going to end the video, folks, and I'm going to have you try numbers 2 with whatever time we have left. Try number 2, and try number 3. Yeah, that's all I'm going to ask. I'm going to have you try number 2 and 3 with whatever time we have left, and if not, finish those up later. Look for what variable's easy to get rid of. And I will see you guys at some point, maybe. Bye.